Hello, caller. You are on the HireLyrics Born to Serve Blog Talk Radio Show broadcast, where we are featuring the first draft of the U.S. Citizens Control Publicly Searchable Docket Thread Database. What would you like to say? Who's calling? Hello? Hello, caller. You are on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
Hey. Yeah, listen, I've been listening to your show, and I understand that you're talking about the economic statuses of the U.S. today, right?
We're talking about what we can do with administrative solutions that would help the stimulus funding reach its mark of the worldwide population of disadvantaged creators, all the people who benefit from the services of Social Security, all the people all the agencies, the private sector that's getting the stimulus money. We're talking about what we can do to be seen administratively by those services so that the money actually reaches us, and then it'll benefit all of our economic recovery.
Well, that's my question as an individual without health insurance. What is there that an individual can do to obtain health insurance through these agencies?
Well, that's just it. Okay. Our outlook recognizes healthcare as one of those industries that are mechanized, okay? When we say the systems that have services by policy standards, they publish policies that are supposed to help you. You know what I mean? That officially they have policies where help is available to you. We say, HireLyrics outlook says, the worldwide population of disadvantage says, our disadvantage is how do we get those industries to enact the services that they publish as available through their policies, and now they're funded to give us. How do we get some of that, you know, if we run up on a clerk who doesn't want to be bothered? That's what we say. Now, technically, officially, you're supposed to be able to go to a place called, if you just lost a job, you're supposed to be able to get COBRA, which is very expensive. And if you can't afford to pay for that, you're supposed to be able to go to your local public assistance area and get a Medicaid card and let the state pay for your medical insurance. However, what's happening for the worldwide population of disadvantaged creators, which spans every demographic, and if you've done those things and you're still not able to get it, what's happening is our disadvantages, we're not poor enough, or we are self-employed or partially employed, or the databases they're working with on paper, we don't look like we qualify, you know. Now, they just, by not seeing us in their paperwork and their database, they've immediately minimized the value of our quality of life. They're saying, well, your contribution isn't as important as somebody who's on a form of income that we can recognize. They're totally poor. They're SSI, they're SSD, or they're on welfare. We can recognize that. But you, Mr. Ordinary Joe, who's getting up every day struggling, working to take care of yourself and your family, you're self-employed. We can't monitor your earnings. We can't attach all of that. We can't control all of that. And so we are not going to give you any of our services and recognize that you can't pay for medical care, even though you do qualify. That's the disadvantage. That's the challenge. And that is the administrative solution that we are suggesting, this publicly searchable docket thread citizens control database, where you would be a citizen who would go in and feed into this database that's publicly searchable, and in full earnest bona fide implementation, if we're successful, it'll be implemented. The healthcare officials, the public assistance officials, law enforcement, the hospital, the registrar at the hospital would be required to stamp that he or she checked this docket thread database for your entries, so that they would have a true and accurate overview of your situation from whenever you started feeding this in, or your family started feeding it in for you, which would be the attempts that you made to get health care for yourself. All the times you went into the emergency room and you got a bill because you didn't have health care. All the online bankings that you may be using, prepaid debit cards or whatever, showing how many times you credited that and what your real income is as a self-employment person. Your PayPal account statement is showing you're a self-employed person, and your online banking account where you do have earnings, and your earnings can be assessed. It's just that the person in the healthcare industry at the time did not want to be bothered to assess your eligibility for healthcare. It's an administrative challenge. It needs an administrative solution, and we just can't say it enough how it's that type of situation, just like the one you talked about. How does one get healthcare? And there's supposed to be all the stimulus money for healthcare, and you should see even before the stimulus money, the big endowments and grants that hospitals got. I'm going to name one down in Georgia because that's in our case studies. Phoebe Putney has these huge amounts of grants and endowments because they service a particular, notably poor population, a large and poor population in southern Georgia. But we know what we experience, or what our loved ones experience going in as a non-white mother on public assistance, pregnant on public assistance, could not even get competent, safe child care, health care. So it's a function of what the person, the worker, the employee, work ethic, synergy, intent. It's a function of whether or not they enact the benefits on the person's behalf. And what this tool is going to get people to see is that an individual is able to apply the individual employee that works enacts these machines, right, these systems, actually is in a position to negate, ostracize, rule out, or apply based on their subjective standards, their work ethic, their integrity, and these are measurable for for impacting human quality of life, thereby revenues, because we lose revenues if you don't make it to work. Like if you're sick and you couldn't get health care, your self-employment efforts, right? You're self-employed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we lose that. As a society, we lose the contribution that you're bringing to market every day that we could consume through your self-employment efforts because you weren't able to qualify on paper for health care to keep you up and running.